Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop, or at least what is left with it. We are going to be continuing on with the Bridgeport thing. Just a little bit of a catch you up type of thing, because the last Bridgeport video was, well, I shot that 10 months ago. So 10 months ago, I got back into it wasn't a restoration project at first, it was a cleanup project, and it has turned into a restoration project because I was pulled down that rabbit hole. That was last March. I pulled the table and the saddle out of here and got to this point. It ended up sitting here until now. Things happened. Basically, I wasn't planning on painting my trailer, but then I started doing that and kind of went down that way, and this got kind of put to the side. So now we're back at it. The other kind of bigger thing is that we have since moved, or in the process of moving. So you can see the shop is pretty well cleared out at this point. Basically all the big stuff, there's a few small things here and there, but pretty much everything is in the new shop, all set up and ready to go. So I left the Bridgeport here on moving day because one, it's kind of big and awkward to move, and two, since I was still planning on taking it apart, because now I'm planning on painting it, so I figured I have all the space in here now to kind of move things around, maneuver stuff, and work a little bit more easily with the added space to fully take it apart, paint prep it, possibly paint it, and then move it piecemeal back to the new shop and reassemble it in the new shop so it'll be easier to move. I don't, like with all these Bridgeport things, I don't have an actual plan for what we're going to accomplish in this video. I just know we're going to start getting into this thing, getting it pulled apart, and then maybe we'll start paint prepping it, and we'll see how things go. Maybe I'll start painting it here, or maybe I won't. I don't know, but the first thing that's going to come off is going to be the head. So I still have it tipped back here from the last time that I was here cleaning it, and I'm going to get this thing tipped back down to more square-ish, and we are going to get this head off of here. I have my my helper here today, which in theory should make this a little more streamlined and smooth, but I also don't have any of my tools here, so I think I brought everything I could possibly need to do this job, but you know how that goes. Now, to make taking this head off a little bit easier, I made this head removal holder tool thing, and I do have a video about making it, so I'll leave you a link to that. But basically, this is going to allow me to hold the head as I pull it off with the studs. So there are 4 studs here on the front of the machine, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and those are actually what fix this whole component here to the RAM adapter, which is back in here. So normally how people would do this is you would mount this holder into the quill. This holder gets clamped down to the table, and then you can use either the Y-axis or the RAM slide thing to pull the whole head away from the machine and do it that way. I don't have a table anymore, so I've adapted this little plate thing to be a skid steer attachment, so we'll be able to just basically just pick it up off of here with the skid steer. And hopefully this will be the least eventful part of the entire day. I hope. Okay. That's in there. Okay, so that was about as uneventful as I could have hoped for. Although, new problem. I don't know where I'm gonna put this now. I was planning on just setting this thing over onto the table, which I already pulled off, and clamping it just to the table and leaving it like that, since the table weighs more than the whole head. It would be a good place to store it. But if I had left all my whole table clamp set thing at the other shop, because I moved it already, like a dummy. So, I mean, technically I don't really need the skid steer right now. I was gonna use it to like pull this thing over under the I-beam, but I guess I can do it manually for, you know, old time's sake, I guess. Or I guess I can still use it to pull stuff around. I can still pull it with the skid steer. I just, yeah, it's less convenient because I got a head sticking out of it. That's fine. Whatever. We'll make it work. So at this point, at least, this thing should be a little bit easier to push around with all the weight that's been removed already. I'm guessing this is probably around 1,200 pounds right now. I think the base or the column is 700 pounds. The knee is 350, and I guess the turret and ram assembly is probably another, I don't know, a couple hundred pounds, somewhere like that. It's still really heavy. Okay, so one of the handy things with this shop is there is an I-beam in it, which is kind of useful for picking stuff up. I haven't actually used it that often. I think I actually only used it once for this, and that was when I got my planer. But you can buy these little bracket things which clamp onto the I-beam and allow you to mount a chain hoist to it. It gives you this little anchor spot, and it still kind of slides around, which is kind of nice. So hopefully I have enough headroom for this. We'll find out. Yeah, okay, cool. We should have, well, I got like 2 inches of lift. That's gonna be all right. And we unbolt the assembly, and we will prepare for liftoff. So this assembly is a few pieces. There is the turret, which is the part that spins around here. We got the ram, which moves back and forth, and then the ram adapter is this chunk up here, which pivots. So I'm taking these off as one unit, just to kind of make it maybe a little bit easier to remove, because then I can pick this up and then drop it down onto, a pallet, and I can work on it on the floor, which should make it a little bit easier to get apart. And I'm mostly just trying to work through this as quickly as possible to get it fully disassembled, so I can start like paint prepping it. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me right now is just if I can get the big pieces painted while it's still here, that would be ideal, because I have a lot more space here, obviously, to paint. These smaller parts like the ram and, the ram turret doesn't have that much painted surface either, so those will be pretty easy to, set up a small paint booth in the other shop for. So less worried about those, more worried about the big parts like the whole base and column assembly, and then the knee are the 2 big ones. If I get those done before moving these, that would be awesome. So there are 4 bolts for this, 2 on each side. And then inside of the column is a thing called the spider, which is what these actually go into. You can put a riser on here too. A lot of people have those to get the head even higher. I haven't needed any more height than I already have, mostly because it's already pretty tall for me, being somewhat short, so that's not really an advantage in my mind. And I haven't had the need to have more space under the head for bigger parts, so that's that, I guess. I can't imagine, the brake is already like right here for me. I can't imagine having to reach way the heck up in the sky to hit the brake, or even the switch. And the switch is movable. The brake, maybe you put a longer handle on the brake, I guess. Even the speed adjustment wheel is up the same height too. That would not be a taller head or putting a riser in here would not be comfortable for me at all. Maybe if you're 6 foot something, not if you're 5'6". Multitasking. All right, let's see how this goes. Come on. Do I have enough height? That's it. Is that enough? Kind of. Put a little piece of wood in here so as it's sliding, it doesn't screw up this machined surface. This is a lot lighter now. Like, quite a bit lighter. There we go. Yeah. All right, let's get that thing down on the ground, I guess. Still not that light. Still heavy. In other news, I didn't realize the spider wasn't attached to anything, and that fell down. So it's kind of in there. Because the column is hollow. In case you're curious, this is heavy. Very heavy. I'm going to try and get the spider out of here without breaking it. So that's a little piece that clamps the top of the column to the turret. So those are the bolts that I removed, which went through here, and it pins into here, and these little tabs on the outside here grab onto the inside of the base there. So right up under here, grabs right under there, and that's where it actually clamps to. And as you can see, it's, you know, just a big hole. The floor is down there. Totally hollow. All right, let's get the scale off of here. I'm sure this is already all messed up, and I'll never go on correctly ever again. Oh well. Like, yeah, I probably just broke it. Right. This is not in good shape anyway. It's got all the guarding is missing. All the there should be like a rubber guard down here to keep junk out of here, and the glass scale is nicked in a few spots. So it's probably not reading accurately anyway. Not a huge loss, just an annoyance, I guess. Okay. Now we're on to the left side of the knee, and we're going to remove the locking mechanism from the knee. This actually locks the knee in place. Once you have it set to whatever height you want, you can lock it down so it doesn't have a tendency to move or shift around or whatever. I'm going to loosen up the screw back here. This is going to loosen up the gib for the knee. Going to give it a little bit of slop, and that should make it a little bit easier to pull off of here. Okay. Now to remove the locking mechanism, there's a little cover plate here. Should pop off. I should probably remove this lube system. I'm gonna have to anyway at some point. Yeah. So many things. Just keep going with this first. And then in here there are a pair of set screws. Or at least they're supposed to be. We'll see if they're both here. There, here comes the first one. Okay, we got one. Yep. Okay. Well, assume the other one's in there. That's the correct outside one. Yeah, we got them. There we go. Cool. Got our set screws out. That's nice. Oof. Stay. Oh. Oh. Woo. Okay, so this is what, day 2 now. Not a huge deal. I need to get a socket extension to finish pulling this knee off. There's a gear in here that's bolted on that I can't get in there with a ratchet. And I needed a core 20 bolt to finish removing the table lock. So, you know, not a huge deal. I was able to get home a little bit early and I went snowmobiling. So I'm not too torn up about having to leave early yesterday. There we go. So next I'm going to start working on this little front area here, and my puller can't grab something this small, so I'm just using a wedge. To slowly drive this thing out. Get some on the bottom here. Okay, next is the dial and the lock thing. Ugh. So to remove this next piece, you're supposed to use a pin spanner. So basically a wrench with a little pin on it so I can grab into this hole and you can unscrew it away. I, of course, don't have one of those, so let's get creative here. I scrounged up some Allen wrenches so I can put this in here, I hope, and then give it a smack to loosen it. I really hope this works. Down here, if I can hold this all, and then give it a smack. Hey, hey, that actually worked. Key gonna come out or no? The key's in there pretty good. I'll leave that alone. Okay. And here is the last piece of the puzzle before the knee is ready to come off. We got the key and the gear. Perfect. Okay, let's get this thing set up to lift. Bar stocking here. I have to put it through the hook first. Go, a little tension on there, and I'll just clamp to the other side of this bar so it doesn't roll around. This is up against one of the webs in here, so it can't go this way towards you, but it could roll that way. I just threw a piece of the table clamp kit under there as a little riser block thing, and I think we should be good to start lifting now. Now with the gib out of there, it should be, yeah, much easier now. dirty. Very, very dirty. All right. Let's figure out when I'll put this knee. I think before I put this thing down, I'm going to remove the oiler and these oil lines here just to make that a little bit easier. Get it out of the way now. There we go. That is off, and then I just have these two, I think it's just two screws attached to the reservoir. All right, so to pull this oil line back through, these are on with compression fittings, and I cannot get the little ring here to even think about sliding off. So I'm just gonna cut it. Maybe. There we go. Get this piece off, and I can pull the line back through. There. Okay, so there is still a bearing in the bottom of the knee, which I need to remove. Which I'm not going to do standing underneath it with suspended, because that would be dumb. So, let's see if I can just set it down on its side so I can get at that underside. Gosh. If I can flip it up. Yeah, okay. Yeah. It's not too bad to roll, but it's definitely heavy. I think this bearing might need a little tappy to come out. Let me get this retainer out of here. Roll over. Oh my gosh. That's a big bearing. Meaty. A little, yeah, we're gonna have to replace that. So that leaves us with the last bit of disassembly. That is going to be the base of the lifting mechanism here. There we go. There's the screw. I think I'll just put these back here. All right, so there's a bronze nut. There's your screw. Looks like they're gonna need a little bit of cleanup, but it's okay. I'll just store that on there, and then I have this little support housing thing to remove. Cool. Okay. I believe that's it. Well, I'm not going to take apart the ram assembly here, but that's it for at least getting the base ready, I think. So it's been about a week since the last time I was here. And I think I'm just going to take the pieces of the Bridgeport back to the new house, and I can finish things up there when I have a little more time. We're to the point now where this house has to get sold, so I need to get this stuff out of here and finish getting the garage converted back into an actual garage and a shop. So getting these things out of here and getting them back is probably going to be the best thing to do right now. Well, the reason I really wanted to do this here was, at least for this part, having more room and work is nice, but I was planning on doing like all the painting and everything in here in this space, but we're getting into the spring now, and it's warm enough where I could set up a small paint booth like in the barn at the new place, so I'm not super worried about having to have a space to do that activity, that it's not in the middle of winter anymore. So as far as painting goes, there's a couple of like schools of thought on this, and I'm going to go all the way down to bare cast iron, and I just did a little experimentation with some they're like what, Scotch-Brite stripping pads that actually chews through the paint that's on here pretty quickly. So the two, I guess, thoughts on this is, some people will tell you to just take it down and remove the top coat, and then you could apply a new top coat and be done with it. Possibly fill in any voids or defects with some filler first, and then do a new layer of top coat. Taking it all the way back down is obviously more work because you have to build it right back up again. But the issue I was seeing as I started to get into these pieces was the actual, I guess the primer coat, or that first coat, was actually cracked quite a bit. It looked kind of like a craterous old lake kind of thing. So as far as longevity goes, you can expect that to probably flake off some more. And there are a lot of places on this Bridgeport that are flaking. So I think going all the way down is probably a better way to go. The other thing you'll see too is that as the paint fails and as oil and lubricants are able to get underneath the paint, the cast iron soaks that stuff up and holds it. And if the casting itself had any filler put into it, the filler gets soaked full of oil too. So getting down past all that, getting a nice clean, fresh surface, actually being able to fully wash and prep the cast iron before paint, I think is just going to be I'll say better, way more work, but better end result. And I think as far as I am with this already, it's going to make way more sense to just do it all right one time, and this will be my machine for the rest of my life at least, and probably my children's lives too. So that's the nice thing about these machines, is that they can be completely rebuilt and brought back to a completely new condition again. So if I'm going to take it back to completely new condition, I might as well do the paint job the right way too. The other thing that's supposed to happen with this is I am going to have all the ways ground and scraped back into true, and it's basically, this is going to be a brand new machine by the time I'm done. So, you know, a little bit of paint here and there, but gotta get it out of here first. So I'm going to throw it on the truck, and then I'm going to probably just finish up today by stripping the old shop of everything that's shop-ish and get it ready to go back to being a garage, which is going to be a little bit on the weird side because I spent a lot of time setting this garage up to be a shop just to turn it right back into a garage. So in the crap corner that Bridgeport currently sits, there's two things about the situation that is helping me to think about actually getting done with this, because I think it's very dangerous at this point to be like, I'm never putting this back together again. But two things. First off, this thing takes up a lot more space now that it is completely disassembled. Space is not something I have a whole lot of, so getting it back together will free up space in the shop. The second thing is I actually miss having this thing around as a functional tool. It's not like I didn't have it in the old shop for that long, but I really found myself like, it's such a versatile tool and it's such a fun tool that not having it around has not been fun. So I'm really looking forward to having it back together to actually use it. So free up space and actually make the whole shop more functional, a win-win type of situation. So we'll see more of this restoration project is what it has become. I was promising myself it wouldn't become this kind of project, but it has. So I'm past that. I've come to terms with that fact now. But this will be a pretty robust and awesome machine when it is completely restored and put back together. This nice thing about these machines is you can bring them back to being absolutely like new again, which is something you can't say a lot about other stuff these days. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the full disassembly of a Bridgeport. I didn't expect to bring you through that whole process, but here we are. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on the Bridgeport or anything here in the new shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.